was the last time I came? June, so quarterly visit. Anyway, a lot of changes I've noticed, and somebody has actually now moved into the second phase of having its own building, and soon to be realized. So I'm actually very happy to be, from the very beginning, see the growth of somebody from the very early days when we all met in the clubhouse. And then we start to have our lessons and classes and sessions.
Thank you for the support.
Okay. It's my honor and it's my privilege. And I'm actually happy to see a lot of societies being born. Oh, so many people, many years. Since the time when I started and I graduated, then I was posted to many small little towns, as an officer of the government, JKR, Jabatan Kerja Raya. I was posted to towns like Kota Tinggi. So initially I thought I'm going to suffer there, but instead it becomes an opportunity. So there's always a lot of opportunities for us to look into the outside of the comfort zones like Kuala Lumpur and Penang and Malacca. So Kota Tinggi was a town where there were many engineers and teachers, and most of them were English educated. So when I first arrived there was hardly any availability of Buddhist materials, and I went to approach the Chief Reverend and says, what can I do in that little place? He said, very simple, all you do is take my books, go and sell, go and distribute. So I decided to collect a few boxes of the books, and at that time, after graduating, I managed to buy a car, which is a Mazda 323 hatchback. So, I was staying together with Victor Wee, Datuk Victor Wee, and he was my housemate. So he bought a Mazda 323, so we all follow him. So we also bought a Mazda 323. And the hatchback is that you can lift up your booth, the whole booth, and display your booth. So I went to the Pasar Malam in Kota Tinggi and opened up my booth, display all the books, and then those days we used to have little booklets, very meaningful messages and stories told by the Chief Reverend and others. Then I started distributing, and many people were very surprised that they can find Buddhist materials in English. Because the only temple there, which is supposedly to be having some Buddhist teaching, is called Chi Ten Ko. Chi Ten Ko is the Tao Jiao, not the Tao Jiao, is the Moral Uplifting Society. Third Jiao. And eventually, you can't get materials like this. So we get teachers, we get engineers, we get hospital assistants. They come, they collect the books or the pamphlets, and subsequently then their hunger to read more make me carry out more books. And they come to my house become a bookshop, right? And from then onwards, my house became the congregation center where the people will come to meet every Friday. And we have a session. Then we started puja, and then started inviting speakers. So the earliest speakers was actually Chief Reverend. So in Kota Tinggi, we have a waterfall. And we held a camp in the waterfall so that it will be a 2-day affair. You check in on Friday, and then you check out on Saturday. And at that time, there were also teachers' societies. Teachers' societies that is located all over Malaysia. And one of the very active teacher college with the Buddhist society is called Maktab Keguruan Temenggung Ibrahim, which is in Johor Bahru. So they have a Buddhist society. And imagine those early days, the Buddhist leaders comes from the teachers. And they are the one that eventually gets sent out to the various places, and they are the one who starts all the Buddhist societies. So I went there, give talks, and then suddenly I invited them for the camp also. So there was this income tax officer, he was visiting the lecturer of Maktab Quran Terminal Ibrahim, and wanted to have an outing with him, but since he's going to Kota Tinggi, he asked where he's going for. He said, I'm going to attend a Buddhist talk in English. He was also English educated. So he said, can I follow? I will just follow you up, and then after that, I will take a taxi back in the evening. And true enough, he went, sat down, listened, and enjoyed the talk. And he told the congregation, okay, I'm leaving. So he said goodbye. No, goodbye, I'm coming back. So he went back to Johor Bahru and he picked up all his clothes. And in the middle of the night, he came back again to attend for the next 2 days. That person eventually became the secretary for Metta Lodge Buddhist Society. So these are what we call the growth of Buddhist centers, where we call it the outreach programs. Now, if these programs did not happen, a lot of our Buddhists who are English educated will never have a chance, if they are not in KL or in Penang, to come into contact with the Buddha's teachings. And true enough, societies then start to appear. And we all know that even in KL, we decided the outreach program must go beyond brickfields. Then we went to Sumanjaya, start in the house. We went to Kinara, start in the house. Went to Bandar Utama, start in the house. And all of them become full-fledged. And so is Sambodi Buddhist Society or Buddhist Association. You call it association or society? Sambodi Buddhist Association, right? And the movement then start to move, and we are happy to see the growth, right? So thank you very much to all the pioneers, especially our late brother Chia Singh, who is the pioneer in this Sambodi Buddhist Center, and also to start and kick off the Buddhist community in this area. But this is not today's topic. This is only a trailer. So when you go and see a movie, you see all the advertisements. This is one of them. Today we are talking about the mystery of living. So just now our brother was asking, what mystery are you going to tell today? And basically what happened is that when we are born, sometimes we do not know why we are born. And sometimes we don't know why we are here and why are we in this life. So many of us with that blur mind then starts to follow exactly what others do. Your parents will then dictate how you should live your life, how you should prepare your life, and how you should actually take care of your life, and finally, of course, how to prepare for the ending of your life. So there is this precondition or preparation of how we should be living. So basically we have all in common that we will then live, grow up. The answer is study hard, graduate, get a good job, earn some living, and of course probably half your salary goes to your parents to support them because they have been supporting you, and then the other half takes care of yourself and take care of your family, and then get married, have children, educate your children, and then eventually retire from your job and enjoy the fruits of your labor, hopefully with the good health. And then finally, of course, the final days comes. Then we prepare for our future, which is actually what we are going to be in the afterlife. But along the way, we have a lot of failures, we have a lot of disappointment, we have a lot of vicissitudes of life. One day we have a lot of gain, we make a lot of money, we succeed in a lot of ventures, and we become a successful career person or businessman, or accumulating enough wealth for our well-being and for our families, and probably attain a little bit of fame, being known to others, people know you, and respect comes out of it, and you start to get praises. People praise you. Wow, you're such a nice person, you are a successful person, you did very well, and then you believe that you have happiness. You are enjoying a certain level of happiness, and you hope that that happiness will last. But then, sorry, it's too fast. Oh, it jumps off. Okay. Then we realize that all the gain we have, eventually we also face losses. So there's gain, there's lose. We don't gain all the time. Sometimes we lose. When we buy shares, you see our market goes up. Then share price goes up. Then of course when we calculate our fortune, yeah, we make a lot of money. Then suddenly there is this crisis, and there is this stock collapse. Then we lose everything that we have gained so far. Yet we still don't want to let go. Then we lose some more and become worse. And we face with losses in our life. Same thing with business. When we are in business, we get a lot of what you call profits. And then finally, of course, when we meet certain difficulties in the business, then losses starts to happen. And then we try to patch them up. We try to cover. But if we cannot cover, then we have to declare ourselves bankrupt or wind up our companies. Now this is part and parcel of our life. We have to face it whether we like it or not. Then we get honored. You get honored by being promoted. You get honored by being looked up as a mentor. You get honored by being given titles, right? And sometimes all this honor can turn into dishonor. You get what you call blame for it. From the praises that you have been accumulating, then you get a lot of blame. When things start not to happen, when things start not to be successful, or things start to fail, then the finger starts pointing. And then you will be actually identified as one of the causes for the losses, and you get the blame. So you notice that your happiness was at one point in time, but it is fleeting. It rises to a height, but then at the end of the day, it then subsides. The happiness that is tagged to something which is not tangible, something which is not permanent, eventually will then turn to unhappiness also. So these are the vicissitudes of life we are going to face throughout the whole length of our existence. So whether we like it or not, these are inevitable. So basically, one day we have gain, we have pain, we have praises and happiness. The next day we come loss, defame, blame, and then pain or sorrow. So we have been living like this. And sometimes we end up our life wondering, actually, what is our life? How have I lived? How have I benefited? And is there anything to count for? Is there anything to remember us for? Have we left a legacy? Can we find true security in the world and says that I am protected all the time? I have all the wealth and I won't lose it at all. I have all the fame, but I won't lose the fame. We can't find that security. It is so insecure, and every time we feel that stress of facing that kind of insecurity. So we expect to find happiness through our family. That's why we place our faith in our family, place our faith in the friends around us. And one day you realize that there are some who are not supportive of what you do. Sometimes the family gets disintegrated because of a lot of disagreements and arguments over the approaches and the directions. And friends also, when you are in your heights of career, when you are wealthy, they are your friends. But your true friends is only realized when you face failures, when you face a lot of loss, and whether they are still around to support you. So business is also very insecure. It can have what you call, goes from one tier to another, but when it falls, it can actually fall very seriously. The company that I worked for before was at the height, and it was flourishing, owns a lot of land, owns a lot of property. But today, that company which I work has now gone into difficulties because of just one venture, lost 800 million, and then eventually now has to struggle in order to pay its debts, pay the salaries, and many of the staff do not get salaries. So, poor leader of the company then is in deep distress and a lot of stress. At one point in time, it was flying very high. We thought we worked for money and hope that money would then be able to take care of all our happiness. But at the end of the day, the most wealthy, the most possessions that we have, eventually finds that we still face with a lot of unhappiness, distress, stressful lives, and facing a lot of difficulties. We thought we can live with entertainment, entertain ourselves, just enjoy our shows, just enjoy our luxuries. But the entertainment doesn't last. It is also very fleeting and it disappears. So is our beauty and our youth. Right? Old age, sickness and death is an inevitable phenomena of our life. At one point of time, we were very pretty, very handsome. But now look at the mirror, it says, well, not so handsome, not so pretty. Can we accept it? Can we be at peace with it? When we are no longer having the good health, we were strong and healthy, but stricken now with some diseases and ill health, and as a result, we can't do the things we want, we can't eat the food we like. And is it permanent or is it impermanent? And that we have to decide and deal with it. And finally, of course, we realize that our life is limited. We cannot live forever. There's no immortality here. We cannot find a sientan that once consumed, we will live forever and ever. One fine day, we'll come to a point in our life that we have to say it's time to go. It's time to move on and leave all our kin behind. Are we prepared for that moment? So whether we are prepared or not depends on how we treat this life and try to resolve the mysteries about it. So can we find permanent happiness through these means? No. Okay? So but where do we learn to solve all these ills and unsatisfactoriness and sorrows? Of course, no school, you cannot learn it from the school. You cannot learn it in a university. Education, secular enough, will not be able to give you the answers towards the resolution of these miseries of life. A lot of physical ailments we will start to face, like all this in the list. But we then try to find a teacher whom can have a cure, whom can have a resolution. So we resort to the Buddha. The Buddha is said to have found a cure to all these universal problems once and for all. Because he was concerned with the problems that we are facing, our frustrations, our sufferings, and our feelings of hopelessness. Some of us actually come to a point in life where we feel we are so hopeless. We are useless. We are not able to achieve much. And we are not able to control what is in our life. Now, what did the Buddha find? Now, he basically went out to find the truth because of what he saw. He was very much disturbed when he saw the old person, when he saw the sick person, when he saw a dead corpse. And of course, he saw the fourth side, which is a mendicant, an ascetic who goes around in search of an answer or a truth in order to resolve the ills of old age, sickness, and death. That means Lao Pings inflicts every one of us. And this mystery is very difficult to resolve if you cannot come to terms with it. So then he decided that he must follow the ascetic and follow the ways of the ascetic in order to find a solution. And that on one fine night, during the full moon night of the Vesak month, he then became enlightened. So, in his enlightenment, what did he discover? He discovered that all these ills of life arise because of our ignorance. Because we do not have that knowledge and the understanding about the workings of life. That's why we are in suffering. And because we never realize that all phenomena that we experience, all the experience that we have, they are actually about impermanency. Because there is no phenomena that is permanent and that will go on forever and ever. Our youth is also impermanent. It will then have to develop and deteriorate until we become old. Our good health is also not permanent because we are so susceptible to a lot of attacks by viruses, by bacteria, by accidents, and even by the mere deterioration of our molecules and cells. That one day it will deteriorate and no longer able to support the life or the mind that we have. And therefore we must separate. And that's why we cause death. Death is a separation of a body which could not support the mind anymore. And the mind has to be released. And to go and find another physical form to attach and to re-become again. And what we call rebirth or a new birth. And that when we are born, we have this ego, this strong attachment of the personality called I, we, us, ours. And because of that attachment and clinging to the ego, that's the reason why we have to face with so much difficulties. Because we cannot detach, we cannot let go. Because I must be like this, I must have this, I must enjoy this, and it is I. And because of that ego, it leads us further and further and deeper into miseries and dukkha or suffering. And of course, strong attachment or clinging. We crave. We have a lot of craving. We want to have more and more of certain things which we like. We want to enjoy more and more of the experience that we love to enjoy. We become what we call attached to a lot of luxuries, a lot of good things in our life, and finally, of course, to please all our sense doors. And lastly, of course, craving to please our craving for life. We want to live forever. We don't want to die. And because of that clinging, that is the reason why we get ourselves into a lot of attachments and sufferings. So does man realize that in reality, actually, nothing belongs to him? You are just here in an episode. In this life, basically, is just one of the passing. You appear. Of course, sometimes we ask, why are we here? Why are we born? Who puts us here? Why did that, what you call Almighty, or why did that force make me appear here and live for one period of time and then after that take me away? I cannot understand. So if you cannot understand, then you are bound to have a lot of mysteries. You cannot resolve it. But actually, when we are here, it's almost like a person who has been shot with a poison arrow. And now the arrow is in your chest. Now, do you have a question to ask and says, who shoot this arrow? Why did he shoot this arrow? And why am I being shot with this arrow? And what is this arrow made up of? What poison does it have in order to make me so painful? By the time you finish answering this question, it's time to die. Rather than to say, I've been shot with an arrow. I'm here. I'm alive. I have a life to live. Why not I just live my life accordingly? And don't worry about what this arrow is made up of, who shoot this arrow, and why did he shoot this arrow, and why am I the person to be shot with an arrow? That question we can ask when we resolve. So you take out the arrow, put it one side, find a cure to the wound that this arrow has done, and then become strong again, become healthy. And when you are strong and healthy, then now you find who shoot this arrow at? What is this arrow made up of? So this is the analogy of the person who was shot with an arrow. Refers to basically our life here. But when we are here, have we come to a realization that actually we are here in passing? We are here just to experience and hope to make the most out of it. And subsequently, when this life passes on to the next, we carry on in the next episode. And we bring nothing from this life to the next life. So don't cling, don't attach. Because when he dies, when the person dies, everything will be passed to others. Either through your will, either through your power of attorney, or sometimes through a law, a distribution act to distribute everything that you have here. The beautiful clothes that you wear, the gold that you adorn, they have to be left behind. And if you live inside the casket, telling everybody, that when I die, these are the gold that you must put inside. It may disappear at the caretaker side, undertaker side. Imagine there is this Michael Hui show. He works as in a mortuary. His favorite profession. So every time when a corpse comes in after he's passed away, and he will come with his pliers, and he will try to seek for gold teeth. He will pull out the gold teeth, and he will see whether there's any gold that is attached to the body. He will then take it out, and after that, then he will prepare the body for burial. That's the reason why when they want to close a coffin, they ask everybody, don't look back. Because you will make sure every time when in the wake, you make sure whether the gold is still there. But at the time when they close the coffin, they say not allowed to read. Why? Because you may be pulled in. Or you may have sway after that. But that is a good opportunity for them to take out whatever that they need to take out and then cover and then nobody to see again. Because once the nail goes in, that's it. Secret closed. That is one of the mystery of life. So don't put too much gold inside your casket. So where do we find happiness? In basically this life, as we say that this is the life that we want to live. Do we need to renounce all the material wealth in order to find happiness? That means to say, throw away your Mercedes Benz, give up your, what you call your most loved gold earrings, give up your only Rolex watch, some of these possessions. The Buddha has actually not advised anyone to do that. That you don't have to renounce all the materials wealth in order to find happiness. You can learn not to cling to it. You can learn to detach from it while you are still having it. And say, if it get lost, well, if it is no longer what you call shining, okay. If it's no longer giving you that, what you call the timing, and the Rolex watch missed by a few seconds, you don't have to be so disturbed and unduly disturbed by this. So the clinging has to be reduced. And later on you will understand why the Buddha said this in the Four Noble Truths. Is there absolute no happiness in material possession? Yes. Don't tell me you don't enjoy your Mercedes Benz. Don't tell me you don't enjoy your holidays that you are going. Don't tell me you don't enjoy the good food that you are having in the restaurants. And some of us have this makan group. They go in search of. Enjoy it. You have worked so hard for it. This is an experience. But if you can have it, so be it. If you cannot have it, don't be disappointed. Don't despair over it. If you can afford it, have it, enjoy it. But in enjoying all this, always spare a thought that if you have extra, you have surplus, give away for good cause. Give some charity, provide for dana, think of somebody every time. You can still enjoy your wealth as a result. So no ownership and wealth are important conditions for a good life. Because by themselves, there is no permanent happiness. It don't give you permanent happiness. Realize that it gives you that fleeting happiness, and that happiness is fleeting because it's tied to some conditions. If the condition disappears, then the happiness also disappears. But where do we find true peace and happiness? The Buddha says, look within yourself. Look at your feather black body. Understand the conditions that is in your feather black body. Learn about your body. Learn about your mind. Then the Buddha will then teach us a straight, clear path on how to attain perfect peace. So addressing some monks, the Buddha said this: just as the mighty ocean is of one flavor, the flavor of salt, this Dhamma is of one flavor, the flavor of deliverance. That means delivering you from the miseries and disappointments, unsatisfactoriness, or dukkha for that matter, to be able to be free from it and to have no more dukkha in your minds. And the final liberation from clinging, where dukkha will then not arise. This is in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta. So the mystery of living basically is to understand the purpose of your life. But before I move into this purpose of life, let us now talk about what the Buddha teach in the Four Noble Truths. Because that is the formula which we are going to adopt in order to resolve all these mysteries of life. What did the Buddha say in the first truth, or the first noble truth? Is that as long as you are born, there is dukkha. So what is dukkha? Dukkha is old age, sickness, and death. Because of birth, that's why you are suffering from old age, sickness, and death. So when you come to face with these three ills of life, you just have to tell yourself, well, I'm born. Because I'm born. That's why I have to face all this. But the Buddha did point us out that birth gives rise to old age, sickness, and death. That means the only way not to have old age, sickness, and death, the only way not to have a lot of unhappiness that is attached to your 5 sense doors is not to be born. What do you mean by not to be born? Is not to cease from birth. But can you cease from birth now? And tell yourself when you're about to pass on and say, okay, this is my last. I don't want to be born again. It's not so simple as that. Because of that mind and body combination. Because the mind and body combination arises as a result of conditions. And because there's condition, that's why it's impermanent. Because it's impermanent, that's why you have old age, sickness, and death. And we always say that the moment when we are about to die, in our minds itself, there is always this craving force. The craving force that is existing and not resolved. What do you mean? You don't want to die. Craving for existence. Bhava Tangha is one of the craving that causes you to be born again. What do you mean you don't want to die? You want to live forever. If you can have sentan, you want to take the sentan also. If you are suffering from old age, you want to remain young, you can. You go to Botox. You go to Bio Young. All the supplements and nutrients. Yes, it does. Stop you from growing old.
Stem cell.
Go for stem cell. Our good friend, Dr. Mahathir, said to have undergone this, and that's why he's now going to be 100. But does it mean that he will not die? Old age. No matter how he stops it. So, does it mean that if you go into all these measures, you will not grow old? And you will not die? And you will not become sick? Because the moment we have birth, these are 3 inevitables which eventually will take its form one day in our life. So the Buddha says, well, the first cause for your birth is craving for existence. And because of this, you then says, well, life is not worth living after all. You suffer too much. You have too much miseries. You want to die. So how? You commit suicide. And that is called craving for non-existence. But the moment you have craving for non-existence, you will be born again. Why? Because whenever our mind has that craving force, craving to exist and craving not to exist, the mind has what we call a magnetic force, which I liken it to the voltage of an electric current. The voltage, as long as it is not eradicated or not weakened until it's eradicated, that voltage or amperes will always manifest that electric current. And as long as that electric current has to pass through an electric bulb, it will always light up an electric bulb. So our life is like this: a bulb and an electric current. The bulb is your body. The electric current is the mind. So this mind and body will always continue to react with each other as long as there is a force, electricity and an electric power. A mind, manifestation of a mind and a body. Until one fine day, we can slowly weaken the voltage. We can slowly weaken the amperes. When there is no more amperes, there is no more voltage in that current, does it manifest as electricity anymore? If it doesn't manifest as electricity, then it will not attach itself to another electric bulb and light it up. Same thing like our mind. If our mind doesn't have that craving to exist and craving not to exist, then that mind will not manifest anymore after its separation. When it doesn't manifest anymore, then it doesn't attract itself to another physical form, another rupa, another body for rebirth. Is there any more birth? If there is no more birth, is there any more old age, sickness and death? So that's the solution. The solution means try to remove the forces or the ingredient that causes the rebirth process to take. And the one is called Bhavatanga and Vivavatanga. Of course, craving got three. What is the third one? The third one is called Kamatanga. Kamatanga means pleasing your sense doors, which means to say you have your eye, your nose, your taste, your hearing, and your touch. We experience this whole world through these five sense doors. Imagine if you don't have the eye. Is there any color? Is there any beautiful? Is there any ugly? If you don't have the sense of smell, is there anything called fragrant? Is there anything called smelly? Is there anything called perfume? If you don't have the sense of taste, is there anything called sweet? Is there anything called sour? Is there anything called bitter? If you don't have the sense of hearing, is there anything called music? Is there anything called scolding? Is there anything called praise? If you don't have the sense of touch, is there anything called smooth? Is there anything called rough? Is there anything called pleasant or unpleasant? So the Buddha basically says the moment you attach to your five sense door, there will always arise in your mind greed, hatred, and delusion. Why? Because when you have pleasant object coming to the eye and the eye sees, the eye will say, see some more. When you say see some more means what? Open your eye bigger. Stretch your neck. Go forward and see. Do something about it. When you see some more, the more you see, the more you want to see. The more you want to see, the more you want to see. There is no limit to seeing. And that is called tan or greed. Then, when the eye sees a pleasant object comes to the eye then tends to remind the mind says, you don't see something ugly, unpleasant. But the object has every right to be in front of you. It appears and says, see. And you say, no, I don't want to see. You turn into angry. You turn into hate. So you have hurt or hatred. Now when a beautiful object and an ugly object both come same time, then the mind will then say, see or not to see, do or not to do. The mind becomes very deluded, very confused. When you use any of these sense door, pleasant, unpleasant, both pleasant and unpleasant, the mind will always turn to greed, tan, hatred, hurt, delusion, fana. Tan, hurt, fana. Are these satisfactory states of mind? Are these happy states of mind? Are these good states of mind? No. So therefore, the moment we are attached to the sense door, it always arises in our mind a disturbance. And that disturbance is called unhappiness. So, the Buddha says, if you are craving for existence, you are craving for non-existence, and you are craving for sensual pleasures, your mind will turn to unsatisfactoriness. Dukkha arise because of this. And that was the second noble truth. The second noble truth says, why are you unhappy? Because you are attached to life, you are attached to non-life, and you are attached to please your sense doors, giving rise to greed, hatred, and delusion. That's the reason why we are unhappy most of the time. Now, what if I remove the attachment? What if I remove the clinging, the cessation of attachment, the cessation of craving? Cease to crave. Don't crave, can or not? Don't please your sense door, can or not? Whether you live some more or don't live some more, you are okay with it. Whether life is unbearable and you say that, well, I have to face it, I have to face it. And you don't crave for non-existence. If you cease from craving, then that unpleasantness, that unsatisfactoriness, dukkha, will then slowly fizzles away. First is dukkha. There is dukkha because you are born. You have to face it whether you like it or not. Second, what was the cause of your born? It's because of craving. What was the cause of your unsatisfactoriness? Because of your craving. Third is, can you cease from the craving? If you can cease from the craving, then there is no more cause for the arising of your dukkha. And thus, you will then be free from dukkha. You will then be free from birth. When you are free from birth, do you have to face old age, sickness, and death again? No. Tapi Sumai ini sangat cakap tapi susah buat. That's why the Buddha gave us the fourth noble truth. The formula says that if you want to cease, then you have to do it. Act on it. Try to perfect it. Try to reduce your craving bit by bit until one fine day you will cease from craving once and for all. When you are ceased from craving and released from craving, you liberate yourself from craving. That is called lightened your mind. You are now enlightened. Your mind becomes free from all the cravings. And with that enlightened mind, that will be your last birth. And if that is your last birth, after passing away of this life, then there will be no more becoming. There will be no more arising and combination with another form to create what we call another birth. If there is no more birth, then there's no more old age, sickness, and death. There's no more all these sorrows and miseries, gain and loss, praise and blame. It will all cease to nothing. When it ceases to nothing, that is the end of dukkha. Cessation of dukkha. For number two, dukkha. The cause for the arising of dukkha. Third noble truth, the cessation of the cause of the arising of dukkha. Fourth noble truth, the path leading to the cessation of the arising of dukkha. So this is a formula that we now have to apply in our everyday life. Which means to say, every time when we face with certain difficulties, certain unhappy, what you call thoughts, we will then have to tell ourselves, yes, I'm experiencing this loss, this unhappiness, this ill fame. What was the cause? What causes this? You must be attached to something which you don't want to change. You must be attached to a possession which you don't want to be lost. You must be attached to a fame which you want to last forever. You must be attached to good things that you want to enjoy all the time and don't want to lose it. But when you start losing it, when you start detaching and giving up on it, then your mind now becomes very unhappy. If you can say, okay, let me cease from clinging onto it. Let me cease from attaching to it. Let me renounce it. And says, well, if I can enjoy, then enjoy. If I can have my Mercedes, so be it. If I can enjoy good food all the time, so be it. But if I cannot enjoy, well, this is part of impermanence, anicca. There is no permanentness for me to hold and grasp. Because if I grasp on it and it turns impermanent, then I am going to be disappointed. Anicca, anatta, dukkha. So when we understand this correctly, that is the time when we are free from all the miseries and difficulties. But one of the most important things in our life now, that we are here, what shall we do? We shall set our path to try and learn how to reduce our craving. So we must have a purpose. And we must live with a purpose in this life. If we don't have purpose, we live aimlessly. Pergi sana pun boleh, pergi sana pun boleh. So at the end of the day, we cannot find the road. And we do not know where we are and what position we are. So the answer is develop a purpose. Understanding the purpose in your life. Now what are the purpose? Examples? Making a positive impact on others through mentorship. We have all, most of us have reached a certain age. We have a lot of good experience. We have developed a little bit of wisdom in our life. We have now have a lot of knowledge which is so valuable, which can last for a long time. We don't want to carry it along. We don't want to bring it to our graves. We share it. We bestow it out. We donate it if we can. And this is the dana of knowledge. And how do we do that? It's by mentorship. Some of us now, we go and conduct courses for a lot of young people. And we call it the Young Working Adults Program. And who are the people who speak? The old working adults. Why? Because we all say, eat salt more than rice. We have a lot of knowledge. We have a lot of wisdom. We have a lot of experience in dealing with all the difficult situations in our lives. It's time that we share this wisdom with them. Talk to them. Share with them. Encourage them. Inspire them. So that they can learn some of the age-old wisdom. They may say, oh, this one very lao putong, very old-fashioned ways of doing things. Hey, hold on. Some old-fashioned ways is very lasting until today. It is still very useful until today. It still works until today. So therefore, we then be able to share them. And this is called creating a purpose in our life. Is that when we are in our right age, we must not relent. Continue to share. Continue to teach. Continue to be of an inspiration to others. Helping those experiencing struggle or poverty. Counsel. Counsel them. When you have the ability, sit down with them, hear their problems, and then eventually share how your personal experience. They always like to hear about your personal experience. Don't tell them stories too much. Tell them about your own personal stories. Because you have many stories to tell. In fact, if I can bring you out here and says, can you share, right, what are the benefits you have accrued by practicing the Buddha's teaching for so many years? How have you benefited? How have you changed? How have you improved your life? If you can reflect upon this and think of some of these experiences and gains and benefits that you have, being more simple in life, being less angry, being more benevolent, being what you call able to have peace and happiness. When you stand up here and you start to talk about it, you are a Dhamma speaker. You already trained Dhamma speaker. We don't need to teach you to be a Dhamma speaker. We don't have to say, can you give a Dhamma talk? Oh, no. I know very little. Just speak on your experience. You're already a Dhamma speaker. So what we're saying is, whatever you have, counsel others. Tell others through your experience. Then caring and nurturing for your loving family. When it comes a point in time, you realize that you have neglected your family. You have actually been too busy in your work, too much involved in your business, that you have no time for your family in your early years. Now that you are semi-retired or retired, this is the time you sit down with them, spend quality time with them. A lot of people say, why are you spending so much time in Melbourne now? They ask me. I said, those days I don't have time even for my own children. And now I spend more time with my grandson. Payback time, right? Replenish them. Give them what we call the love, the concern, and the care. If you cannot shower it in the earlier years, then shower it now.
Then how about our own time?
Spend more time taking care of yourself. Go and visit as many places. Now is the time to go traveling. Now is the time to do something for others. You have a lot of programs if you want to do it.
No, I mean, just now you say you spend time with your grandson. So most of your retirement life already made.
Oh, no. Don't spend all the time. That's why I only go every 3 months, only 1 month there.
Oh, okay.
3 months, come back here.
Wow.
Then, okay, go spend more time and say, sorry, I have to go traveling. Sorry, I'm going to do some charity work. And I go to Ladakh. Sorry, I'm going to have some Dhamma talks arranged.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have some courses to give. And also, now I have to go for my makan more. So, don't spend all of the time.
Yeah.
Allocate. Be wise with your time. So as I said, if you have that purpose in life to dedicate all this timing, I think you are going to spend the remaining years happy, more happy and more fulfilled. That one fine day when you really cannot do anything with it, and you are now sitting in a rocking chair, rocking with no more teeth in your mouth, start thinking, what have I done with my life? How much have I contributed? What is the legacy that I want to leave behind? Not your money, but all your services that people can remember. So when you think like this, oh, that's very fulfilling. That is very enriching. And if you can have that as your last thought, oh, you are definitely going to heaven. Right? Because your last thought determines where you will be. How you are thinking at that last moment before the transition, before the reconnection with another. What was your last thought determines your first thought in the next episode of life. So, if you understand the Buddha's teachings, you will understand the sequence of life. And when you understand the sequence, you prepare yourself for that moment. So, if you have not been doing enough, your purpose in life is that remaining times, do all this. But if you are starting to live, don't wait until you are old, then only you want to do. A lot of time we say this is called the fishbowl theory. You know, there is this friend of mine. He was waiting for bus every time after school in order to go home. And beside the bus stop, there is a fishball noodles stall. And he will make it a point that before he goes back, he will take noodles first. So he ordered fishball noodle. And then the fishball noodle came. And he says, I will eat the noodle first and the fishball later. Because the good things at the end. So he ate all the noodles first. And before he could eat the fishball, bus came already. That's the meaning of it. While we are waiting for the last moment, don't wait. Better eat your fishball now and your noodles together. Right?
Let's go for lunch together.
Makan. That's why when my wife asked me, you're coming before lunch? I said no. Waking up to a happy life on most days. Every morning when we wake up, especially if we touch the threshold of 70 and 80, oh, it's a bonus time. you are so fortunate to have lived in such a ripe old age. Every morning, you should say, hey, hooray! You are now alive one more day. Give you more time to do something in your life. So waking up to a happy life means you are able to be healthy enough to do something. And even if you are not healthy enough, at least can do something by your legacies. Next one, improving your physical health and helping others to do the same. We do a lot of savings, isn't it? We save for our rainy days. We save for our old age. Actually, we are saving for our medical treatments. Because when we are old, the biggest expenditure is actually medication. So in other words, we must be able to actually take care of our health. This feather-like body is temporary. It's a house. The Buddha said it's our house for the time being. And we are now, this mind is staying in this house. And this house is supporting this mind. One fine day, this deterioration is going to take place, whether you like it or not. And the organs can start to fail, one by one. And when they start to fail and cannot support, that's the time when we have to say, well, it's time to go on and find a new one. Of course, that gives us hope. Now, not so good body. Hope to get a more well-bodied, and then after that, live in a better life. But currently, with this frail body of ours, which is deteriorating, you can still sustain it. You can still keep it up. You can still nourish it. You can still use it until its last moment. Keep it up. So in other words, improving your physical health and also now helping others to do it. Which means to say, create groups for good, healthy exercises. I've been trying to promote a lot of aged living, caregiving. Of course, the one that is coming will be in Setiala. It will be sometime in 2026. So nobody, you will reach it. It's still within reach, 3-4 years. But start with daycare hub first. Daycare hub means a lot of our Buddhist centers, Monday to Friday, is actually empty. Why can't we use it to create a daycare center so that our elderly can be here? Now, one of my programs in Elmina City. Elmina City is, I propose to them to do aged care, but aged care is aging in place. Aging in place means you stay in your house. And all the new houses now in Elmina City, from phase 1 to phase 6 or 7 now, is actually with the aging in place room on the downstairs. That room is having an attached bathroom which is wheelchair friendly. And in order to reach that room, you have a ramp that goes up, either inside if it is a terrace, or outside if it's a sanity or a villa. You will then goes up to the back room, and you can move in and out from the car porch right up to the room if you are on a wheelchair bound. Right? And you stay together with your children's family. You don't have to stay out if you can. And when you are staying there, of course, the children will then, the couple will also have their young children. Every morning, they send their young children to kindergarten. Or they use a shuttle to send, or they use a transport. They can also send the elderly, the elder person, to the daycare hub. And what I propose to Elmina is that there will be the clubhouse. And in that clubhouse, apart from club activities for the rest, there will be 2 wings. One wing for the kindergarten and one wing for the elderly. And they face each other with a center garden or courtyard where they actually can interact in that courtyard. And they can also have joint programs between the kindergarten and the senior daycare. And the senior daycare will check in every morning They will have their exercise, they will have their game, they will have their talks, they will have their physio, they will have their, what do you call, checkups, Monday to Friday. And that daycare hub also got few bedrooms. And that bedrooms is called hostel, or hostel. When the children want to go overseas, or when the parents cannot stay at home, they check in to one of these rooms for that period of time. In the daytime, they go downstairs for their daycare activities. Evening, they go back. But that is only temporary. Then they have joint programs where they will learn how to do arts and crafts together with the young boy, the young girl, and the old lady and the old man. And eventually they will work and form a team. And they will compete with each other. What do you call, the two groups of people. And subsequently have joint activities. This kind of interaction is very successful now in Australia and in UK. Right? Rather than leave the elder person in a daycare hub and every day sit on the wheelchair looking at the wall, looking at the sunbathe, and with no activities organized. But of course, have to pay a little bit. So the baby boomers are all ready for this kind of activities because they have savings which they can actually dedicate for this. Any question? A lot of one book already.
It's already operational now?
Not yet. Still under construction because senior living is actually a very new industry. So it's now being prepared. And because we realize that the aging population is getting more and more. Malaysia, 2030, which is only how many years more to go? 6 years more to go. We are going to touch about 15 to 17% of the total population is above 60. And these are the people who eventually have to check in. Number two, a lot of children are not around their parents anymore. So then they have to go in and check in also.
Actually, the other one is 2026 ready to check in or
Ready to check in.
only want to be
Ready to check in.
Oh.
Hopefully lah, no delays.
When you're going to start?
It's getting the plans approved now. Once the plans approved, the work will start.
How is it different from Alvina?
Alvina is aging in place. This one is you stay inside the home. It's like a home where everyone stays together, and you probably have to pay about 6,000 to 7,000, including food, and medication is your own, and you just pay either monthly or yearly, depending on the financial package.
You can buy the unit also, isn't it?
Oh no buying.
No, oh.
Because we notice that if you buy, at the end of the day, the unit can be sold to others. And when they sold to others, then the whole scheme fails. And that was happened to Monkiara Sophia. Monkiara Sophia was built for that purpose. So when the elderly pass on, the young one take over, the young one go and take out all the handrails, take out all the fixtures, and then eventually the whole Monkiara Sophia now becomes young people's place. So no more. Even the swimming pool where the rent, they take out the rent also. Alright? So this is why I'm saying improving your physical and also helping others. And a lot of time these are good opportunities for you to help out if you can help out.
Where about?
Where in Sedialang?
Near the petrol station.
The petrol station where the
Shell and petrol.
yes, where there's a linear park at the back.
Yeah, lah.
Beside the school. Now the school is going to be built there.
The school not yet built.
Not built yet.
Shell, Petron,
Petron.
the other side.
And then there's a few rows of
There
shops.
is two petrol station. One is Shell.
It's about 2 acre site.
One is Caltex. That side, lah.
So you don't want to go away too far from the place where you want to check in. You know why? Because you still want to be in the same environment. But you want more care. But in Malaysia, the trend is, at the moment, nobody wants to check in there until they are really, really, really incapacitated. For the time being, you stay in your houses. So daycare hub is more important than this. So the industry is moving very slow on that, but we are trying to set up daycare hub in all the places. And one of the places that we actually eye for It's actually all the Buddhist centers and religious centers. The Christians are doing very well, but the Buddhists are not doing. And the Buddhists have a lot of Buddhist centers which are closed Monday to Friday, which could be used for this purpose. So with your new center, maybe you would like to consider. Right?
But if in the center they don't play mahjong, cannot put that.
Why not play mahjong?
Cannot.
If you treat mahjong as a mind-stimulating exercise, but maybe 10 cent, 20 cent, not yak kok, some cow, 20 cow. So if you play just to stimulate the mind, why not? In fact, mahjong is recommended in all the age homes now.
Yeah, play mahjong, jerami.
Play jerami, play the what do you call jerami?
Yeah, jerami, mahjong.
Dancing,
Huh?
dancing.
Line dancing,
Okay.
and then singing, karaoke. What do you call acting? Many exercise. Yeah, morning exercise is the Tai Chi and normal morning exercise. So because they have officers, guest officers actually conducting, and you notice that there are notice board when we go and visit those available now, full of activity. You choose which one you want to go with. Of course, some are lazy; they don't want to go to all. They just choose one or two. But food is ready. It's all central kitchen, and it's all dining hall. You don't eat in your room. You eat together with the rest, and you follow a diet.
When can some body members register?
Or when I launch a project. Okay, so you are my ready customer. That's why I do advertising now. Promotion. Okay, with this, I think I will stop here. And do you have any questions?